Home to over 120 different indigenous people groups, Tanzania, formerly known as the United Republic of Tanzania, has a population of 55.5 million. The religious breakdown of Tanzania includes 61.4% of the population being Christian, 35.2% is Muslim, and 3.4% is of a folk or unaffiliated religion. The average life expectancy is 63.1 years, and the population pyramid is a relatively equal-sided triangle. Generally, there is one male for every one female in all stages of life, leading up to 55 years, where the women dramatically take over. When women are on average 19 years old, they will have their first child. The fertility rate is 4.8 children per woman. By age 15, 77.9% of the population can read and write either Kiswahili, English, or Arabic, and, on average, both males and females spend 8 years in school. Tanzania lies on the coast of the Indian Ocean in East Africa and among the inland region of the African Great Lakes. The second largest country in the region is placed amid Kenya, Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, Burundi, Rwanda, and Uganda. Historically, Tanzania has been passed around Europe. Originally named Tanganyika, it was first colonized by the Germans in the 1880s and then captured by Britain during World War I when it became a British mandate. After World War II, it became a United Nations Trust territory, and then in 1961, Tanganyika gained its independence. Later, in 1964, the island of Zanzibar joined with Tanganyika to form the United Republic of Tanzania. Although there is a great lineage and significant merge in Tanzania's history, there are no dominant cultural groups, and Tanzania is considered to be the most peaceful country in East Africa. Since becoming a sovereign state in 1964, Tanzania has established itself as a presidential republic under English common law. The most recent president elected was President John Magufuli, who will lead for a 5-year term and is eligible for a second term. The president's role is as chief of state, and he appoints the prime minister, whose role is as the head of government. The current prime minister is Kassim Majaliwa. The only position elected by popular vote is the president. All others are elected by plurality, save the prime ministers, which, as previously mentioned, is appointed by the president. To vote, Tanzanians must be 18 years old. Tanzania has a very high risk of major infectious diseases, with approximately 1.5 million citizens living with AIDS. 22.8% of the population lives below the poverty level, and the unemployment rate is 10.3%. The average GDP per capita is a measly $3,200, ranking it 193rd in the world. To put that further into perspective, the United States GDP per capita is $59,800. Only 12% of the population has access to the internet, and over 65% of the population lives without electricity. As for a safe source of water, only 50% of the population has access to that, and only 34% of the population has access to improved sources of sanitation. Agriculture brings in over 66% of the revenue for Tanzania, and various services bring in the other 26%. The GDP for Tanzania is $162.5 billion, with a 6% growth rate. The main crops are coffee, tea, cotton, insecticide, tobacco, corn, wheat, and fruits and vegetables. There is also a cattle industry made up of cows, sheep, and goats. The economic hub of Tanzania is the port city of Dar es Salaam, formerly the capital of Tanzania. Dar es Salaam is the cultural hub as well. Many tourists begin and end their trips in the city, as it is home to Tanzania's most prominent arts, fashion, media, and financial centers. Tanzania has some severe environmental issues. Because Tanzanians cook and heat inside their homes, the burning of fuel, wood, or charcoal leads to a large environmental health issue. Due to the lack of plumbing systems and the improper liquid and solid waste management, this lends to water pollution. There's threats of soil degradation, deforestation, and desertification, as well as the destruction of coral reefs, which then threatens marine life. Poaching for the purpose of hunting and trade is common and threatens wildlife, and the government takes as many preventative measures as they can by being party to several preventative programs and protocols. The future of Tanzania is bright. President Magufuli has big plans on improving the country by expanding industries, among other things. Their fiscal deficit is already very low, with a difference of only negative $0.945 billion. Over the last decade, the GDP has seen a 7.1% growth and inflation has declined. Since 2007, poverty has declined and there have been tremendous improvements in human development and living conditions, as well as health outcomes. While the gains are unevenly distributed between rural-urban lines, the improvements are there and Tanzania is working on bettering the country and its citizens.